In this video, I'm going to discuss some of the questions that children of divorced or separated parents ask when they're children and continue to ask into their adult life. One of the things I discovered as a result of my parents' breakup when I was 10 years old is that experience and the life that follows that experience doesn't just stay in the past. That experience isn't something that I can leave behind in my childhood and start my adult life with a fresh new slate. Regardless of whether you grew up in an intact family or a divorced family, what you learn as a child is preparing you for adulthood. And therefore, it makes sense that the things that you experience and feel as a child will impact the way that you interact, relate, think, and feel as an adult. One question that divorce raises in the hearts and minds of children is the question, who can I trust? They've had to deal with the reality of parents who didn't keep their promises or their word. Children expect that their parents will stay together, that they will have that family and that stability through their life. And so when children lose that at a young age, it leaves them confused about who they can trust. After all, their parents are the ones that they look up to, the ones that they depend on and respect. So when their parents violate that trust or don't keep that promise, the child thinks, well, why would anybody else be trustworthy? And so as children of divorce, as adults, we often also struggle with questions about who we can trust. Who can we be open and vulnerable with? Often we can become quite guarded, or we wear masks. We expect to be rejected. Some of us will be hesitant or unwilling to begin a romantic relationship, but even those of us who do may not expect them to last. Another question that children of divorced or separated parents will often ask and wonder about is the question of who wants me? Now, it's impossible for kids to separate the idea of parents rejecting one another and the family breaking apart from the idea that the parent is also rejecting them. Kids simply don't have the emotional and mental capacity to understand the complexities of adult relationships. All that they know is that their parent has left them. They have moved out of the house, they have moved away, and this to the child will feel like abandonment or rejection. All the child knows and sees and understands is that the family has fallen apart. And as life moves forward, the child will be separated from one or usually both parents at different times as the child visits back and forth between homes. And this going back and forth, splitting time between parents, leaves the child wondering, who actually wants me? Are they just sort of like passing me around because nobody actually wants to have me all the time? And so the question of who wants me carries its way into adult life, where many of us will struggle with self-esteem or self-worth. We may have low standards when it comes to friendships or romantic relationships. We may be quick to surrender our desires, our needs, our wants, or opinions in an attempt to be likable, to be wanted, to be loved. Many of us will struggle with perfectionism or performance. We may be people pleasers. A third question that many children of divorce have is a question about, where do I belong? It's possible for a child of divorce to feel loved by each parent separately, and yet somehow that breakup of that family, the breakup of that relationship, has translated into a confusion about, where do I belong? Where is my home? Where is my stability? Where is my place in the world? Particularly in the early stages of post-breakup life, there's a lot of instability, there's a lot of change. As a kid, you might be sleeping on the sofa. You might not have a room or a space of your own. You may be bringing your belongings back and forth from home to home, which really underlines this sense that you don't belong anywhere. There's no place that's truly yours, where you can relax, where you can be comfortable, where you're seen and known. Then as time goes on and each parent becomes more established in their new life and their new routine, their life will go on. Maybe they'll get married again, have another partner, have more children. And so in this sense, it highlights to the child that actually there's this whole life going on the child is no longer involved in. The parents will celebrate holidays or special events or go to the movies or have parties and do different things where the child is excluded. Of course, a parent is not doing this on purpose. It's just a reality of life. You can't be in two homes at once. But what it can communicate to the child is that you don't belong. And this questions of belonging and wondering where do we fit carries with us into our adult life. We may feel like outsiders as we go into our adult life. We may sort of hover around the margins. I moved 20 times in my adult life before finally settling down. And for me, this was tied to exciting work and great opportunities. I didn't see it as though I was running from stability, but I recognized looking back that there was this sense that I'm not used to being in one place all the time, and it felt strange to be settled. As adults, we may struggle to create and find a home of our own. We're not sure what that actually feels like. And a fourth question that children of divorce will often be asking is questions about the future. What will the future be like for me? For many children of divorced or separated parents, their childhood was complicated by intense times of loss and grief and instability and change. They may have moved homes, changed schools, said goodbye to friends, lost contact with extended family members, and more. In their young life, they've had to adjust to new step-parents and step-siblings, different routines, new responsibility. They've had to accept change as simply the way of life. Because they've experienced such a big change at a young age, they're trained to wonder what is going to change next. It takes a lot of energy for a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 14-year-old to always remember, whose house am I going to this weekend? Where did I leave my basketball shoes? Children who are splitting their time between two homes have a lot more complexity to their life and a lot more things they have to think about. As a result, many of them are sort of living in the moment. They're trying to get through this week, this month, this year. We might find it hard to imagine a life of stability, of connection, of love and belonging. We're not sure if marriage and family is ever going to be in our future or even something that we want in our future. We might be afraid to make long-term plans or to really invest ourselves in our goals because we know how quickly things can be turned upside down by the decisions of other people. So I wonder if you can relate to any of the questions or any of the fears that I've talked about in this video. I wonder what other questions you would add to this list of questions that children of divorce ask as children and still keep asking as adults. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel so that you can learn more about the experience of adult children of divorce.